What is going on, guys? Today's video is going to be on my SellerAmp configurations. It's going to be strictly on the settings page and going over some of the Chrome extension on what I personally use in my configurations and how you can change it or edit it to your liking based on how you want to use it. So for most of you that may or may not know, whether you're a beginner or an intermediate, you can go on the SellerAmp website, go up into the top right, click your little name, and then you'll click the settings page. You can also edit your settings via the app or via the Chrome extension shown here by this little cogwheel setting, which I cannot pull up because it'll pull up some information. So that's how you can change it there. You can also change it on the website and the app as well. I like the website. It just shows more. It's a little bit, more cleaner. It's not as cluttered. So it's a lot easier to use. So that's what I'm going to show you guys today. As you could obviously tell, user details are here, username, email, subscription, all that can be changed in here. Home marketplace, merchant token, if you want to put it in here, can be that. Merchant token can be found on your Amazon seller account in your seller ID settings. And VAT scheme. So VAT scheme you probably don't need if you're in the US, so we're not going to really go over that. Minimum and maximum BR. This is just what SellerAmp has for all users. I don't really change this, to be honest, because I don't really care about the BSR. If you have an item that has a very good rank, you buy more of it, technically, or usually. If it's selling 100,000 times a month, then yeah, you're going to buy more of it. If it's a very low rank, some people are kind of told to avoid those, but sometimes an item that sells 50 times a month isn't bad. It's only bad if there's a billion sellers on it. So if it sells 50 times a month and there's 2 people on it, there's still room for sales. So I don't really care about a minimum or a maximum BSR. I just judge it based on the amount of sellers are on it, which is the seller count. So that's a story for another day on how I kind of determine whether a product is something I should buy or not. Minimum profit really depends on your setup. If you're self-prepping in a tax-free state, you could probably lower this to $1.50 to $2. It also really depends on what you're shipping out, the amount you're shipping out based on the optimized splits, whether or not you have inventory placement fees and such, and stuff like that. So if you are operating with a prep center, you could put a prep fee in here. You'll probably want a higher minimum profit, maybe of at least $3. It really just depends on what your prep fees are. Remember, prep fees could be a lot cheaper if you're shipping out a lot in bulk. So if you do wholesale, if you do LTL or SPD, whatever you're doing, if you're shipping thousands of units out a month, your prep fee could be roughly around 75 cents. Now, this might change, but if you want an average cost, just take a look at what your prep fee was over the past few months. Look at your invoices from your prep centers and kind of figure out what an average was and put that in here, and it'll kind of bake this into your costs or into your calculations technically. So for me, I do a lot of self-prep, and I also just factor it into the buy cost. So I actually have it set to 0, but you guys can do this to your liking, obviously. Miscellaneous fees, just miscellaneous fees, miscellaneous fee percent off. So if you want to factor a certain percent off, like, let's say Nike's running 25% off, you can also do that. Personally, I don't use any of this because you can actually use math within SellerAmp. So if you find something for 25% off, you could actually do math in here, which is nice. So that's why I don't use it. It's still a good feature for those that want to use it for other reasons. Inbound shipping, this is based off of your price per pound. So heavier shipments, denser shipments generally have a cheaper price per pound. For SPD, so if you're doing SPD, a small parcel, like UPS, post office, stuff like that, it depends on how much you're actually shipping out. It could be anywhere from 50 cents to $1.50 per pound. Usually bigger shipments will bring the costs down. If you're shipping one package to one buyer, it's going to be a few bucks. But if you're shipping 20 packages to a buyer or Amazon FBA, it's going to be cheaper at that price per pound because the package and delivery is denser. So if you're shipping an FBA shipment to Amazon and it has 10 units, it's probably going to be a little expensive. If you're shipping 1,000 units, it's probably going to be a lot cheaper from a price per pound. And this is why wholesale and getting into that drives the costs down and is more worthwhile. But like I said, story for another day. If you're doing wholesale, it could be anywhere from 10 cents, even 5 cents to 50 cents per pound. you kind of have to bake these or do the math yourself and figure out what your average price per pound was on your inbound shipping. So take a look at your previous shipments, see how many units you shipped out compared to the cost of the inbound shipping. You don't have to factor in the optimized placements because this is actually doing it for you, which is a great new addition to SellerAmp. So if you're shipping out, I don't know, 1,000 units and it costs $10, you guys can do the math. I'm not great at that on the spot, but usually with wholesale, with bigger shipments, it's going to be cheaper. For me, I personally use 25 cents per pound for LTL. Full truckloads, probably 10 to 15 cents per pound if you're doing full truckloads. Most of you that are probably watching this are probably doing arbitrage. So I would keep it at least a minimum of 75 cents per pound, if not $1 per pound, just to have better, more accurate calculations when you're physically using the tool. Now, inbound placement fees started a couple months ago. Personally, I like using Amazon optimized splits because the check-in is quicker. Yes, you have to do multiple batches of shipments, but if you're shipping out thousands of units or hundreds of units at a time, it's better to do it this way, in my personal opinion. You could do partial, you could do minimal, it's up to you. But whatever you have set up in here is what SellerAmp is actually going to calculate it via their profit calculator. So if you go into here and you go into the total fees category, it'll say Amazon inventory placement or inbound placement, sorry. It'll have O for optimized. So it actually charges me 0. But if I change this to partial shipment or minimal shipment splits, it's actually going to edit it to a different fee structure. So for me, I like keeping the fees low. I don't mind shipping to multiple fulfillment centers because the sell-through speed's quicker. Yes, the price per pound might be a little bit more on shipping, but this is why you just do bigger shipments. So if you're getting maybe one shipment out per week with your prep center, maybe discuss with them, hey, we're going to do Amazon optimized splits. We'd rather have our shipments out every other 2 weeks. And that might not be a bad idea. This is for peak storage fees. So in Q4, obviously, peak storage fees hit. So from October 1st to December 31st, peak fees will be calculated. So this should be on October 1st. If not prior, you should be kind of baking these into your costs when you're sourcing, especially, September. If you're sourcing and stuff's going to sell in October, you should have that turned on. Ranks, current is whatever it's going to be set up in here. So pretty much have your ranks as current. Buy box analysis time frame. I like 90 days. 30 days isn't bad either. It really depends on your liking. I like looking at both in theory. Looking at all the data is probably the best way to go about it. FBM cost. This depends on what you're doing. You could always just toggle this yourself to FBM here and plug in. So if you're doing shoes, it could be anywhere from $6 to $12. If it goes from East Coast to West Coast, it's going to be a lot more expensive. If you're doing toys or something, it could be $6. Really depends on the weight, which I know Miles definitely shares all of his USPS and all that kind of shipping guidelines on. If something weighs 14 ounces, it should be around this price. If it weighs 2 pounds, it should be around this price. So make sure you look at that, and you can kind of factor that in yourself. For me, I keep it at 0 because I'm shipping all types of different units, so it's always going to be different. Storage time, I just have this set to 0. You can also toggle this yourself within SellerAmp somewhere in here. One of these has, maybe I have it turned off, but you can change your fulfillment and inventory. Inventory storage time. So this can be done through SellerAmp. Personally, I don't do it, but you should have high enough margins to not care about this. If you want to be safe, you could do 1 or 2 months. It depends on how much stock you're also buying. If you're buying 3 months of stock, then yeah, maybe put a month or 2. If you're buying, a few units to sell through quick and then delete the listing after, then you don't need to worry about this. Fulfillment type, I always have it set to FBA because I'm always shipping to FBA. And yeah, custom ROI calculator, so that this will be also within here, like this. This is just what I have. It's just the default value for the customizable field within the field that I just showed you. Um, Top offers on search results. Yeah, I keep all this on except for the geolocation, just because I don't really need that. For the quick info, show profit, show margin, show ROI, break even, and offer summary, all those should be turned on. I'll show you what that is. All of these four and the offer summary should always be turned on. It's just a quick glance of seeing everything rather than having to go through the listing yourself. You should always look at profit margin. ROI is a good metric to look at, but profit margin is a little bit better in my eyes. Break even's also good. So what price are you going to literally break even at? It's just kind of a good mental note to take note of. And then offer summary is great. You can see the FBA and FBM sellers on that listing. And that's pretty much that on the setting sides of things. Now we're going to get into what I personally use. And as you guys can tell, you've probably already seen it. These are what I use. I have some of these turned off. I don't use geolocation. I don't use eBay. I don't use the ROI tab because the calculator is at the top. Seller toolkit, I'm not using currently. Search again, I'm not using. European and VAT, if you're in the US, you don't need that turned on. Arbitrage hero, I don't use. Discounts, personally, I don't use because you can just do math in here. I get it if you're getting something 5% off and you want to do whatever, but you could also just do 5% off, do the math in there. So I have that turned off. Alerts I have turned off. Be cool I do have turned on. This is going to be a video for another day, but if you guys don't know, you should be using Be Cool if you're a SellerAmp user. Why? Because it integrates directly into the repricer. So you could set your stuff almost immediately when you're sourcing products. So if you put out a purchase, you want to set your repricer 25% higher for the max cost. You want to set your current price maybe 10% higher. And it's good. You just get it done. You don't have to go back and actually have someone do it, whether it's a VA or yourself. You kind of get it done in the moment based on that current pricing. Now, pricing does fluctuate. So when you are putting in your min and maxes, I would shoot a little higher, like I just said, and then reprice downwards. But yeah, it's the most affordable repricer on the market, and having an integration with one of the best profit calculators is highly, highly worth it. Keepa, also good. You don't really need it if you have Keepa. Personally, I just have it on just for the sake of this video. I don't usually have this on. But if you have Keepa itself, you should be using this because it gives you all the data. Yes, it's good because you get buy box analysis and stuff like that. So if you don't pay for Keepa, you should have this on. You should have buy box analysis on. You should have all of that on personally. But I think all sellers should have both tools. One, because it's easier to view all of this. Not saying this is hard to view, but this is just widely displayed, a lot bigger. I'm also on a very big monitor, so I can see a lot more. But you can go through the buy box tabs and kind of see it from a very far out glance, which is a lot easier to interpret compared to this. Still not bad. So if you're a beginner and you're trying to go a little bit lower on the software costs, SellerAmp is pretty much all you need. You are going to get a decent glance at this, but personally, like I said, this is too small for me. I think it's really good for the beginning user, but if you want a better glance, you want to be able to toggle from month, week, day, year, or the entire listing and actually zoom in, you should also get Keepa because it doesn't hurt to have both. You'll get all the data you need, and you have an awesome profit calculator built into it. What else? We're going to keep going up. Lookup details, offers, Google Sheets. Google Sheets we're going to talk about on a different video. I'm going to make a whole video based on that. But everybody should be using the configuration for Google Sheets. And I'm going to kind of just go through the rest of these in this tab right here. So quick info. This should be turned on. This is where you get the price, profit calculations, everything. You get the ASINs, the UPCs. You get the Google click immediately. It searches it. So if you're reverse sourcing, you could find, hey, where else can I buy this? So this is out of stock. Amazon, it's in stock. This set retired a couple of years ago, so you're not going to be able to find it anymore. But a very good little icons to kind of quick search stuff. You can also pull this in the SaaS web page. So if you want to look it up like this, you can also look it up like that. Very cool. Dimensions, very cool. Also, you should always check your dimensions, make sure they're accurate because you could be getting priced incorrectly on fees if the weight or the dimensions are wrong. This is the bullet points. Don't really need to go through it that much personally, unless you're trying to verify it's the correct set or correct listing. But you can also just scroll on the page and look for that. Offer summary, like I said, should be turned on. This is just a quick glance on seeing how many total offers there are, if there's, how many FBA, FBM sellers. Now, Legos, these are investment pieces, which is why there's a lot of offers on it. Personally, I wouldn't shy away from Lego listings if there's too many people on it, because eventually they'll sell out. Ranks and prices, very good. I love this piece because it integrates with the profit calculator. So I like looking at the 30 and 90-day average. So 90-day average, you can click this and it'll actually plug it in for you. If you go back to this, it'll actually automatically change everything for you. You can also look at the current. So if you want to see where your current margins are, 30-day margins are, you can change it. You can see the buy box price changes. Very, very, very useful piece of software in their tool. Profit calculator, another version of this. You can toggle between FBM and FBA here. So this is generally whatever you have it usually set up to, which is FBA for me. I bought these actually at 45 a while back, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, right before they retired. And you can actually see, if you look at the historical chart, right before they retired, I was buying them at 45 bucks on Amazon. Now they're at 90 bucks within a year. 95 bucks, whatever you want to call it. They'll probably be 125 this winter because there's not much stock left. Yes, there's a lot of sellers, but some of these people only have a few. I have like 50. So the cool part about this is you can actually put the quantity, like I just said. So 50. Now I could see how much profit I have just from sitting on Lego sets. Now, yes, there's a cost to carrying items. There's a cost to, holding inventory. But if you know you're guaranteed profit and you work maybe a 9 to 5, or maybe you have, maybe you just do this as a side hustle. It's worth it. And don't be fearful of these. These were just regates. They weren't IP complaints. You could see Amazon doesn't really care. As long as the invoices are authentic, they probably won't give a shit. Storage costs. This is what I'll talk about before that I couldn't find. You can actually toggle it here if you really want to see how much your storage costs are. If you use a warehouse yourself, you don't need this. If you're sending 6 months of estimated inventory to Amazon, you could bake it into your cost. Personally, I think that's pointless. I would usually just send out a month or two's worth of stock, 45 days worth of stock, and then forecast that inventory properly. But same thing, you could see FBA, you could toggle FBM. You could see a better breakdown of the profit calculator that you see up here. It's just a little more detailed. Google Sheets, this is what I was going to explain on a whole different video. Variations, this listing doesn't have variations, so I'll show you one after this. But Google Sheets, if I find an item that I want to buy, that I'm sourcing, let's say I buy this set today because I found it on sale, I can add it to my buy sheet. I also have seasonal buy sheets. I have Lego buy sheets if I want to go back and check. If I have my VAs want to review stuff, I can send it to them, have them go look for more websites potentially, back to school. So I have a variety of Google Sheets for SellerAmp, but my main one's my buy sheet. So if I source something and I buy it today, it automatically gets imported to my buy sheet, and then I copy paste that info into a separate tab on the Google Sheets that I pretty much buy. So I'll go over that on a different day in a different video, but that's how that works. Variations, very self-explanatory. If you have variations, I pulled up a random Nike listing. You could see which ones are pretty much selling the most. You can toggle between ASIN, size, color if you really want. You could filter ascending, descending. You can add a level, but very cool. Nice piece of software within this variations tool. Yeah, offers tab. This shows all the sellers, the current prices. So this is very good because it gives you a better layout than having to click on this nonsense down here, which is viewing all sellers. So it takes all that data, puts it nice and neat into here. So let's say you want to see, you bought it at 45 bucks. You want to see what you could sell it at now. Now these are FBM listings. If you send it to FBA, you'll 100% get the buy box and get it at 95, 98. If not, higher. You could even get it at 97. It really just depends on the buy box status. So this is the good thing about Keepa is you can actually filter by who won last, and you could see what their pricing is. So this guy won recently at 96 bucks. This guy won at 98 bucks. So you should always price higher and then reprice down if you're not getting sales. And that's exactly why. Lookup details. So if you find this product on Target and you want to type in, target.com, click save, it'll keep the history, the website, what you paid for it, and what the sale price currently is. So if you paid, 45 and it was $95, you could type in target.com. It'll save it and it'll put all that data in there for you. So you could see the last few times I was looking at it today, it automatically saves it. But if you want to put the source, I really, really recommend that. You could do that as well. And that's the lookup details. Seller Central, another really cool piece within this tool. You can click the add product. So if you want to check to ungate it, obviously it'll tell you if you're ungated or not there. But if you're, let's say you are gated and you want to add the product, it brings you right there. If it's something in your inventory and you want to fix something, you can click it there. It'll bring you right to your inventory page or your orders page, which is nice, or the Seller Central homepage. So another really cool, just quick little features that can just bring you to different pages that you're probably using often. So keep it very self-explanatory. You could toggle the keepers between the countries. US, obviously, for most of us. I like looking at 30, 90, 7-day, but 30 and 90 are usually the go-tos for me. I also like, obviously, looking at it here. Buy box analysis. So this is very good. If you just see a large sum of people, that's a good sign, and that's pretty much all you really need to know about. If it's suppressed, it'll say suppressed. If it's Amazon, it'll show Amazon. But looks like this guy had a lot of stock, so he's hogging it. And then the Be Cool. That'll be another video for a different day, but that's everything you need to know about SellerAmp. I'm going to show you guys one last time what my configurations look like. You can also move these and drag these if you want. And that's pretty much everything you need to know about my configurations. But also take a look at these, turn all of these on, see what you like, what you don't like. Like I said, you probably don't need the VAT, European, some of the other stuff. If you don't sell on eBay, if you don't want your location tracked, you could turn that off, stuff like that. But that's my setup. I'm going to leave an exclusive discount code in the description below. So if you made it this far, check it out below. You'll get 5% off annual and 50% off your first month if you do the month-to-month subscription. Thank you for watching.